Yo, what is up guys, Gray here, and today we have got our week 1 battle of the APA Academy against Lanturn Joe and his Forest Green Rowlets. This man's got a super scary team. The way I'm going to do APA this season, I'm not going to do two different, a team builder and a battle. I'm just going to put them all together. I just find it's much more kind of streamlined that way, and it goes all into one video, which is much nicer. But anyway, getting into this team, he has got the Jolteon, Liepard, Jirachi, Xatu, Arcanine, Braviary, Venusaur, Dracovish, Hitmontop, Gmax, Alcremie, and Runerigus. Now I said, super scary team. Dracovish is always just really terrifying to go up against. But yeah, things on the team that I think are potentially big threats are Jolteon, Jirachi, depending on what set it can be, could also be a big problem. Braviary, if it's Bulk Up or Life Orb, or I don't know, Choice Scarf could also be an issue. Venusaur, if he's Sunny Day Liepard, that could actually be an issue for me. Dracovish is just a general issue. Hitmontop I expect to come because I have got a Sandcore and it checks it quite nicely, but it does kind of, it is like his one best switch into it. Alcremie is his Gmax and all Gmax are broken, so yeah, if that thing comes, it's a problem. And Runerigus is generally quite a nice defensive check against my team as well. So yeah, going into the team that I brought, as you can see, I have got the I can click over, it's on the other screen. First up, we've got Noivern with the Choice Scarf. Speed to outspeed a modest Venusaur in the sun. I don't expect him to bring it, but on the off chance that he does, I don't want to be outsped by it. I can't outspeed timid Venusaur regardless with this set. So yeah, if he brings Manual Sun or Sunny Day Liepard, then that could be an issue. Outspeeds everything else on his team barring a Quick Feet or Choice Scarf Jolteon. Quick Feet I kind of expect. I think it might not be too bad against my team, but if it's Quick Feet, it means it's not Life Orb, and that means, or Specs. Specs could be a problem as well, but yeah, that's a problem if it's Specs. Special attack is will be able to 2-hit KO Jirachi with Flamethrower, or has a good chance of 2-hit KOing Jirachi with Flamethrower, depending on the set. That's Scarf Jirachi, so if he doesn't run any special defense, then yeah, it's mainly here to U-turn anyway. So Oko's Liepard, Dracovish with Draco Meteor, 2-hit KOs Jolteon, Xatu with Draco Meteor, depending on the set. 2-hit KOs a max HP Runerigus and Arcanine after some chip. Draco Meteor, it literally just it does either 2-hit KOs or Oko's a lot of things on his team, depending on their sets. Like, a lot of them are set dependent. If he runs like especially defensive versions of it, then by all means it's going to be an issue. But also, just generally, this is like my best defensive check to a Dracovish. I can bring this in every time, and regardless, I'm going to be able to, unless he. I was thinking running Infiltrator, but I decided to run Frisk instead. Infiltrator, if he runs sub on Dracovish, it might be a slight issue because I've actually got nothing to break that sub. But I do have a couple of checks to it that I think should be alright. The defense investment is kind of wild. I didn't feel like I needed that much speed, and I'd rather invest in bulk than go for more on my special attack when I don't really need it. So yeah, defense is to live a jolly Brave Bird from Braviary after Rocks. I'm not 2-hit KO by Iron Head from Jirachi, and avoids a 3-hit KO from things like Runerigus, Shadow Claw. Most things from Hitmontop, apart from a Stone Edge. I think Stone Edge it's still a 3-hit KO, but it's only a chance. It's a chance to still 2-hit KO me, and if he Gust Rocks up, then yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Special defense, I don't get 3-hit KO'd by Jolteon Shadow Ball, and I believe that's not Specs. I think Specs probably not 2-hit KO'd. I'm not entirely sure on that calc, but that's huge because the chances of him clicking Thunderbolt whilst I still have my Excadrill around is very slim. So yeah, calcing for Shadow Ball is always a good idea. I have a chance of taking 2 Thunderbolts, but not a great one. That's from a non-boosting item. I don't get 2-hit KO'd by timid non-boosting item Venusaur Sludge Bomb, and if he decides to go for timid to outspeed my Noivern, it's good to know that I will be able to take 2, and if he's modest, then I outspeed. I'm not too go by anything really from a Jirachi, from Timid Jirachi at least, so that's also really nice. Next up, we have got our Excadrill, and it's fairly standard this week. I just want this thing to do as much damage as possible. We've got outspeed, speed to outspeed everything except for, again, max speed, Scarf or Quick Feet Jolteon, and outspeeds Braviary and Venusaur outside of weather. If he brings Sunny Day, then obviously he outspeeds me with Venusaur, and if he brings a Scarfer, then again he outspeeds me, except for if I get a Rapid Spin Up. I didn't explain my moves on Noivern, but it's fairly simple. Dual Stabs hits most of his team, U-Turn, Great View, the Switch Initiative, and Flamethrower to hit Jirachi. On this one, it's Dual Stabs, Rapid Spin, and Swords Dance. If I can get a Swords Dance up, everything on his team dies with a bit of chip. I think Rumorgus needs to take about 20 to 25%, and Hitmontop needs to take about 20%. After the Intimidate, I will still be able to pick up a kill at +1 with Earthquake, so yeah, nothing else on his team really appreciates a +2 Swords Dance. Everything else will die to it. It's the rest I just put in HP, which actually just coincidentally helps me live an Earthquake from Rumorgus. Not to get KO'd by Life Orb, Jolteon, Shadow Ball if it's Timid. I expect it to be Timid because it wants to outspeed Noivern. I'm not 4-hit KO'd by Jirachi Ironhead, which is always nice, and I have a good chance of living an uninvested Drain Punch from Jirachi. And moving on, this thing basically just late game can just sweep. If I get things in the right place, then yeah, it can just win. Next up, we've got probably the weirdest Mon that I'm bringing this week. It's a Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, Acid Armor, Calm Mind, Chandelure, and I think this set is either going to be like do really well, or it's going to be absolute shit. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the latter. He's got a ton of physical mons on his team, and after an Acid Armor, I actually live quite a bit. I have a 1 in 3 chance of actually living an Adamant, Choice Scarf, Vicious Rend at +2. Still not a good chance, like a great chance, but it's not it's not that bad, I guess. Good chance of not being forward KO'd by EQ from Rumorgus at +2. When I'm at +2, same with Life Orb, Jolly, Braviary, Brave Bird, I believe that would be. And yeah, not even 6-hit KO'd by uninvested Hitmontop, Stone Edge, which makes that absolutely makes that just setup fodder. The only issue I have is if Dracovish is still alive, even if I set up at +4, I die to a combination of Vicious Rend plus Shadow Ball from Jolteon, and pretty much anything else that can outspeed me. So I do need to kind of watch out for that. I think this set does particularly well. Dracovish does go down early, and my hope is that it will, but I'm not sure it will. Next up, we have got so basically, sorry, that's it. Calm Mind is there because it can also set up on Hitmontop, and eventually it'll be able to 2-hit KO at +2. It'll be able to 2-hit KO most of his team. He has virtually no switch-ins at all to a Chandelure, outside of like Assault Vest, Hitmontop, and like some weird, like maybe especially defensive Arcanine would be able to switch in. Maybe Assault Vest Life Guard if he goes for that. Next up, we have got Tyranitar with an eject button. This is a weird set, and I kind of want to keep the eject button for late game, but I also want to keep this Tyranitar around. Like I want to have this as a switch in, but it basically gives me a free switch in early or late game into my Excadrill on either his. Well, the plan is to get it in on his Jirachi or on his Jolteon, because I'd be able to live hits from both of those, and that gives me a free switch into my Excadrill in the sand. And like I said, he doesn't really have many good switch-ins to Excadrill in the sand. So yeah, the defense is to not be 2-hit KO'd by Jolly, Jirachi, Ironhead, or 3-hit KO'd by a U-Turn from the same set. Not 3-hit KO'd by Braviary U-Turn, but I do have a good chance to die to close combat. I can take a close combat from a defensive Hitmontop, but not from one with much attack investment. Good chance of losing close combat from Arcanine if it's, again, I think that might be from full attack actually, but I'm not entirely sure. And I'm not OHKO'd by fully defensive Rumorgus Body Press, or 2-hit KO'd by EQ. And I'm by no way 4-hit KO'd by a Life Orb Life Pod. Special defense gives me the best chance of living a Aura Sphere from Jirachi if he runs a special set, which I definitely could see coming this week. I have a good chance to not be 3-hit KO'd by Specs Thunderbolt from Jolteon, isn't 2-hit KO'd by Alcremie Dazzling Gleam, but will be 2-hit KO'd by its G-Max move. Good chance of losing a Giga Drain from Life Orb Modest Venusaur as well. Stone Edge Crunch, again, Dual Stabs just kind of did most of what I needed it to do. The only thing it doesn't do is hit him on top particularly well, so I've got Toxic, and hopefully I can wear that thing down. Part of the game plan is definitely to try and Toxic as much as I can, and getting the Stealth Rocks up will also help with Chip. I need to keep this Tyranitar around potentially for the late game as well, so having that eject button means that it stays relatively healthy, it doesn't have to take too many hits. Next up we have got my Rotom Wash, and it's pretty much just here as something of a defensive check, firstly to Braviary, but also to, hopefully, to Dracovish. The only set that it will lose to Dracovish by is a Jolly Choice Band set, because I outspeed an Adamant Dracovish, so if it's Adamant Choice Band, I outspeed, and I will be able to take a weakened hit from it, and if it's Choice Scarf, then it doesn't have the power to be able to 2-hit KO me. So I should be able to get a Will-O-Wisp off, I can Protect, I can Volt Switch afterwards, and yeah, it should be a pretty good all-round switch in to quite a few of his physical mons. Switches in quite nicely to Arcanine, should you bring that. Switches into things like Xatu relatively well, it can switch into Liepard, though I don't particularly want to lose my leftovers. The only things it doesn't really deal with are Venusaur, which I can Will-O-Wisp on a switch, and I guess to an extent Alcremie can just kind of sit there and Calm Mind on it. But that's why I got other things, like I don't know if he'll bring Alcremie against G-Max Garbodor Excadrill, but we'll see. And lastly, we have got my Golisopod, running a bit of a weird set, as this is also a switch into Dracovish. I kind of felt like I needed to decipher his set, so the only set that will be able to 2-hit KO this particular set is Adamant Choice Band. So if I realise that he's Adamant Choice Band, then I go into my Rotom after the Wimpao, or the emergency exit even. If it's not Choice Band, then I know that this is my preferred switch in. Also with First Impression, it means that I go before him and he will not get the Fishious Rend boost. I can also, again, much like with Tyranitar, I get the free momentum from emergency exit depending on what has knocked me out. If it's knocked me into 50% range even. If it's Jirachi, then fantastic, I can go into my Excadrill and I can scare that out. The EVs on this are fairly specific. It's, like I said, only 2-hit KO'd by Adamant Choice Band Dracovish. Jolly will not be able to 2-hit KO me. And Stone Edge from him on top is a 4-hit KO, apparently, according to the calc I did earlier. Not sure if that's right, but I'm going to assume that's uninvested him on top, and uninvested him on top is weak as anything. Also have a good chance of living a Life Orb Braviary Brave Bird according to my notes. Spadef, actually I just put 4 and 4 in, but it does give me a chance to not be 2-hit KO'd by Modest Venusaur Sludge Bomb, and also can live a Volt Switch from Life Orb Jolteon. It's not ideal, I don't want to be in that situation where I'm having to take that hit, but at the same time, if everything else has gone down and I still have a full HP Golisopod, I might be able to get the emergency exit out into my Excadrill on that. So that's the team. I'll go back onto there. Yeah, I'm not massively confident in this matchup. I have gone very bulky this week, and I'm not sure if that's the wrong way. I was going to run a Choice Scarf Chandler as well, just so I had another thing to outspeed his Dracovish, but at the same time, like, I don't kill it, and yeah, I don't kill it, and I don't particularly, like, I don't live a hit. Put it that way, I don't live a hit from Dracovish, but half my team is really weak to Dracovish, the other half is there to try and check it. We're going to see how we do. It's also my first live comp, so bound to be plenty of mistakes, but Anyway, I'm rambling on, so I'm going to go ahead and I will join you in the battle. Okay, so we're here for the battle, and unfortunately it's not on Wi-Fi. The way the LAN timer works is that you have to sort out something for your router and some DNS setting, and unfortunately my router wouldn't take to it, and I worked on it for about an hour, and sadly was not able to get anywhere with it. So yeah, we ended up playing this on Showdown, and as far as I can see, the rest of the season may well be played on Showdown as well. Shout out to Panther, Die, and Mid. I spoke to all of them, and they said it's cool for me to carry on doing the season on Showdown, despite it being a Wi-Fi league. So that's really awesome. I'm glad that we can continue, because I really like this team and I want to use it all season. Yeah, I also hate dropping leagues, so yeah, this is great. Anyway, getting into the battle. First off, we see no Braviary, no Jirachi, and no Rumrigus. The Jirachi and the Braviary especially are great for me because it means that my defensive checks really aren't that pressured. The Jolteon and the Venusaur are a little bit scary for him, but I have other things to deal with them. And yeah, him on top, knew that was going to come. Dracovish, Jolteon, knew those two were going to be here. The Alcremie, I'm actually a little surprised, but it is a Gmax, so I really shouldn't be surprised at this point that people will bring their Gmax mons, whilst I do not. But yeah, the Arcanine, I'm very surprised that that's here, but at the same time it makes some kind of sense. It outspeeds the Excadrill and the Tyranitar outside of the sand, so obviously it outspeeds Tyranitar in the sand as well. But Venusaur, again, I thought that might come. It might be a defensive set, just to deal with things like Golisopod. Deals relatively well with the Excadrill if it's got Earth Power, and yeah, other than that, it's weak to my Chandelure and my Noivern, so I may need to keep those two around just for this Venusaur. But anyway, looking at the team, he had no hazards, and really he had nothing to deal with a Choice Scarf and Noivern. So I was going to go straight into my Noivern, and turn 1 I'm going to click Draco Meteor, depending on what he leads with. If he leads with Alcremie, obviously I'm not clicking Draco, but I'm kind of expecting the Jolteon. It doesn't have a bad matchup against me, and it is quicker than anything outside of Choice Scarf on my team. So yeah, I'm going to lead with my Noivern, and I'm just going to click Draco. As you see, it does lead with his Jolteon, and I frisk the Choice Specs, and this is huge because if it was like a Choice Scarf or whatever, I would have most likely switched out into something else to try and deal with this. But realistically, I didn't want to pop my eject button on my Tyranitar this early. So finding out his Choice Specs, I know that there's nothing he can do that will one-shot me. Thunderbolt will put me quite low. If he's running like Zap Cannon, then sure, that's going to kill me, but I don't expect him to run Zap Cannon. Thunder would do pretty good amount of damage, but I don't think it would OHKO me. I didn't really calc it. I didn't really do any calcs in this game because I did all my calcs pre-game, expecting it to be Wi-Fi, and with Wi-Fi you just don't have time to calc. So yeah, I'm just going to drop a Draco on first turn. That does a ton of damage to this Jolteon. That definitely puts it in range of pretty much everything on my team. So that is absolutely great. And he goes straight out into his Alcremie. This was expected. I knew that clicking Draco turn 1 was definitely going to bait in this Alcremie, and if he Dynamaxed or Gigantamaxed, then I needed to switch hard into my Chandelure, because it's the only thing that realistically can take a hit. And at the same time, I feel like Chandelure doesn't have the greatest matchup against what he brought. Now, it was mainly here for the Jirachi and the Braviary and things like the Rumrigus, so it could set up. I know the Rumrigus sounds a bit weird, but it was Iron Defense, so it'd be nice for the Hitmontop. It'd be a relatively good switch into it. It'd be nice for the Arcanine, but I feel like it's the most expendable member of my team. So I'm going to go out into it, and he does indeed just throw up the Gigantamax, and Gmax Finale does a decent amount of damage. And I'm just going to Calm Mind, because I'm thinking a Mind Storm probably isn't going to do too much. But unfortunately with the Psychic Terrain, it is going to be able to just 2-hit KO me. But I was looking at damage, and Shadow Ball plus or Fire Blast, it did like a considerable amount of difference in damage, and I just kind of wanted to get the damage off. Don't know why I went for Fire Blast, just thinking I want damage. I should have gone for the Shadow Ball if I wanted guaranteed damage, but Fire Blast does a good amount to his Alcremie, and we are going to get knocked out by the second Mindstorm in the Psychic Train, but we've traded our Chandelure that did have the greatest matchup for his entire Gmax, and I will take that. Now, here I go for a bit of a weird play. Looking at his team in hindsight, I think during the game I was like, Earthquake may not kill this, so I'm just going to go for Iron Head. But had he just gone hard into Dracovish, or, well, to be honest, anything. If he had gone hard Arcanine for some reason, then that would have been able to take the hit quite well. So clicking Earthquake was always my play, but for some reason I click Iron Head and he goes into his Venusaur. I guess for him this probably was one of the more expendable members. I don't know, actually, with Chandelure going down I think it's pretty good in the matchup. But he decides just to pretty much just sack this thing off. Iron Head does a ton of damage, that's definitely offensive. And he's going to stay in and take the Earthquake as well. He had nothing that really wanted to switch in and take that hit. And somewhat surprisingly, he goes out into his Arcanine. And I say somewhat surprisingly because I would have thought that his Hitmontop was his first switch. But at the same time, this makes sense. It does threaten me out physically, threaten me out offensively instead of Hitmontop that potentially would have, well, it would have made me switch out regardless. But I guess he didn't want the chance of me outspeeding him and getting off quite a big Earthquake, but even at -1 I'm not doing that much damage. Regardless, I'm going to obviously not stay in on this, and I'm going to go hard into my Rotom because it is my guaranteed check to this, unless he's running Toxic and Toxic Protect, all that sort of stuff. But that does mean that I'm getting some information, and he does switch out. I see that's an offensive Arcanine from that Flare Blitz, and I kind of expected a Dracovish, so I was going to go double into my Golisopod, but what's quite nice of that is that I'm slower, so I do get no Intimidate, and I again expect him to go. I wasn't sure if he was going to stay in or not. If he went Dracovish on this turn, it was fine. I wasn't taking any damage prior, so it was absolutely fine for me to fell off Liquidation, because Liquidation plus 2 Leech Lives, depending on his set, would have been able to take out the Dracovish. As he actually stays in and lets me get 50% off on his Hitmontop. And that is huge. That now puts it in range of Excadrill. It puts it in range of, well, at this point I assume it's Assault Vest, because I don't see an item. And it's a bit of an assumption, but I do kind of think that Assault Vest had a pretty good matchup against my team. So I'm going to assume at this point he's max attack, or somewhere around that. Max attack, max HP, just from the damage he took from that Liquidation. I am not fully attack invested at all. So yeah, I'm going to assume that he's Assault Vest with max HP, max attack. I didn't calc the Earthquake damage. I could have calced it, but that was negligible. I don't really know why he went for Close Combat. I didn't know if he had Stone Edge, but I felt like taking that hit gave me the information. It was also a bit of a risky play, but I didn't expect him to necessarily stay in, because Liquidation was always going to do a good chunk of damage. But with that defense drop, there's no way that he is staying in. There's no way he's really sacking this off. And at this point, Leech Life is a 2-hit KO. So I see no reason not to go for a Leech Life in case he wants to go into Dracovish, which he does. And we get a solid 44% off on it. And you can see that Vicious Rend does absolutely nothing to me. That does 33%. That is, I believe, Choice Scarf. I want to say that was Choice Scarf, because it doesn't put me into anywhere near my emergency exit range. I want to say it's Jolly because of how little it did. But yeah, we just get another Leech Life off, which always brings us back up to 4 HP. And he's just going to Vicious Rend again. At this point, he did say GG, and I thought that was a little bit early, because Arcanine still can do a ton in this matchup. If I play it wrong, Arcanine plus Jolteon could actually still pull this back. And yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that I've thrown a game. So here he goes out into his Arcanine. I'm 100% expecting him to go for the Wild Charge here, so I just go back into my Rotom. Takes the hit pretty well. It takes it about the same as a Flare Blitz, to be fair. But so my play here was probably to Hydro Pump. I don't know why I didn't click Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump would have been ideal. But I thought if the Jolteon comes in, then I can burn it, I can Protect to see what it goes for, and then I go into my Tyranitar and set up the sweep for my my Excadrill, because if he goes for the Volt Switch, which I kind of expect the electric type move at this point, then that gives me literally the freest Excadrill of my life, and at near enough full health, I can take a Mach Punch and I should be able to sweep up the rest of his team. So I just get the Willow off, and I'm going to protect on this turn to scout for what move he goes for. And unfortunately, he actually goes for the Hyper Voice, which was an interesting play against what I had left. It somewhat made sense, but at the same time, I don't think I'm ever going to go hard drill on this, just in case he throws off a Shadow Ball. And yeah, Shadow Ball from Specs would have really hurt. But because he goes for Hyper Voice, I feel like I can still take that hit pretty well from Jolteon. I still kind of want to go for that play. And I think during the battle, actually, I didn't even think about Mach Punch. It wasn't until the turn came, I get the Hyper Voice, I knock off my... I go for my eject button, and I am in with my drill. And here I go for a Swords Dance, and after I click Swords Dance, I'm like, oh wait, I may have done this a little early, because Mach Punch after this Hyper Voice damage, if it's max attack, I think has a chance to knock me out, and I didn't want to risk it, so I switch out into my Rotom Wash on this. Again, like, to be fair, I think Galleyspot had probably served its purpose and could have just died. And I think we're seeing earlier that he just did not have anything to hit my Galleyspot with this Hitmontop. But I decided to go into my Rotom and take a big close combat. I did a lot of damage. And yeah, so again, I feel like if he's got Mach Punch, that he's either going to switch out and go out into like his Alcremie here, or he's going to stay in, and I'm hopefully going to get the Willow off, and it's just so Mach Punch doesn't kill me. If he decides to preserve it for later, then Mach Punch does like 20% or something when it's burnt to my Excadrill, and it'll be able to sweep up. So I go for another Will-O-Wisp, and this close combat just puts me in range. In hindsight, I don't know why I went for the Willow, who was at -1 defense. Hydro Pump was 100% my play. I took a kind of unnecessary close combat. But regardless, I think my Rotom would have died either to the Hitmontop or to the Arcanine. I don't think the situation would have been too different. So I go back into my Excadrill, obviously knowing that I'm fine to take a Mach Punch. And it turns out he just didn't have it, which I thought was kind of wild. Against the Sand team and Excadrill, like, why would you not run Mach Punch? But like, each their own. His prep may have been specific for something else. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and throw off the Earthquake. Excadrill will get another kill. I think that's the second of the game. Yeah, second, because Rotom got a kill with a burn. And Tyranitar's going to come in. So I expected well, if he went for close combat on that turn, then so be it. I get the Sand up, Excadrill comes in, sweeps up. As it is, he goes for Flare Blitz, and again, I could have switched, but I didn't want to risk. At this point, I didn't necessarily know for 100% he was Scarf, so I didn't want to risk him switching up moves, so I just go for a Stone Edge in case he decides to switch out. And as we can actually see, actually he does. Like, a Stone Edge hit the Alcremie if it came in, it hit the Arcanine if it stayed in. Also, we're really unlucky that my Rotom actually died to the Sandstorm. Like, it was a roll, I think. Can you have a Sandstorm roll? I'm sure you can. And yeah, we're going to knock out the Alcremie. Hitting the Stone Edge on the switch was real nice, and killing it off with the Crunch at 2%. He's actually going to reveal the superpower, but regardless, at this point, I still have one more turn of Sandstorm after this, and Excadrill is going to be able to just clean up the kill. Had he actually stalled out my Sand there, it would have been a bit of a problem, but I always had that one turn, as long as he went for Superpower on that turn. If he didn't go for Superpower, then it died to the Stone Edge regardless. So unless he... well, regardless, I just needed the Sand. I had the Sand at like 4-0. If I had the Sand, I won that battle. That's pretty much how it was. So, good game to Joe. Really fun game, actually. He brought a few things I didn't expect, and definitely the Choice Scarf Arcanine caught me off guard and made me have to play my late game differently. I made a few questionable plays. Like, looking back at this, I can see I made some kind of plays that I wouldn't have made had I been thinking them through. But still, we pull out the victory. We went 3-0, and we're starting the season off strong. We do tend to start off the seasons strong, and then start tanking towards the end, but hopefully we can keep this up. Week 2 we go up against Zach, aka Winter Weather Gamer. I want to say that's what his actual username is, and I believe his team name is the Chicago Corviknights. I'm pretty sure that's right. If it's wrong, then I'll correct myself in the next video. But yeah, good start to the season. Hopefully we keep it up. If you did enjoy the video, then please do leave it a like, subscribe if you want to. I pretty much just only upload APA at the moment, so yeah, if you want to subscribe, go ahead for the rest of my season. And until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.